My boss started listening to our podcast, and
Great.
she said she was going to catch up to where we are now, so...
Wow.
Hi, boss. Please don't judge me for what I said about Twilight.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by three grown-up biologists revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool. I am one of your hosts, Sophie, and I have a randomly generated fantasy name for today, which I choked on earlier, and that was definitely edited out. I'm counting on it. My name today is Fraudpo Worm Bandit.
That's such a good name.
Yeah.
It suits you somehow.
It does. I am certainly a worm bandit.
Yeah.
I steal all the worms off of the sidewalk and then
checks.
put them into the grass where nobody can step on them.
I've seen it happen.
Yeah. But that's about it. What about you guys?
My name's Sam, but in Fantasyland, you can call me Marin Sister King.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's not that exciting. Yeah.
Sister King is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first part?
Just Marin.
Marin, just like a real name.
Yeah,
just
like a chill
a regular name.
Nothing exciting.
Sister King. Like Sister Wives.
I didn't want to go there, but you did. So here we are.
Sorry. Great. Happy to be here. Thanks, Sophie.
In our pop culture reference for the day, there's a contestant on Love is Blind that grew up in a polygamous family. So
this is literally what I was going to say. I was going to be like, the reason I'm thinking about it is because Sam just told me about an episode of Love is Blind.
See?
Anyway, I am Hannah, but for the purposes of today's podcast, you can call me by my randomly generated fantasy name, which is Alicent Wolfday.
That is so cool!
Alicent.
Kind of cool, eh? Alicent.
You sound like a Targaryen.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to be a Targaryen.
Aren't they
They're
all
so incesty, Sam.
I was gonna
it's
say.
True. But they have really blonde hair and dragons, and they're just really cool.
You can bleach your hair.
I tried. It broke off.
Oh.
They all the actors are wearing wigs. You could get a wig.
I know. I've debated it.
Anyway, today we're going to talk about the last chapter of Eragon.
Whoa.
Wow. We did it. A second book.
Wow.
Wild.
I'm surprised we got to this point.
Honestly, same.
Yeah.
It sort of feels like we started this podcast yesterday and also 10 years ago.
Yep.
Seriously, though.
These books last so long.
Yeah. Hey, do you guys remember how when we first started this podcast, we were like, we're going to be nice about the books that we read?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then that lasted like 2 chapters into Twilight, and now we're just talkers.
The problem is that Twilight was way too hard to be nice to.
Yeah.
I had rose-colored glasses on when we started. I just remembered Twilight being good, you know? And then it just wasn't. And I couldn't hold back. I couldn't have that be on me anymore.
It was a cathartic experience for you.
Yeah.
You had to let it go.
I really did. And now it's like, I can look back on it and be like, you know what? I understand why 16-year-old me loved this, but now 30-year-old me is much wiser.
We've moved on.
Yeah.
We've moved on.
To other trashy romance novels.
Yeah.
Oh Sophie's been reading the Ice Planet Barbarian series.
But we'll talk about that at the end of the episode.
I was like, one of us is reading Ice Planet Barbarians, the other is reading trauma-filled romances, which, yeah.
Wait till you hear what romance I'm reading.
Great. But more on that later. Let's talk about the chapter we read, which Sam will now tell us about.
So our final chapter is the Mourning Sage, and that is mourning as in grieving, not as in the sun is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So the chapter starts with Eragon experiencing a frenzy of visions of the Shade's life, and then from his own journeys over the course of the book. During this, a voice reaches out to Eragon, telling him to come to me, which we all know is a very good idea always, to listen to the voices in your head.
Yeah.
The man supposedly calling Aragon calls himself the Mourning Sage, or Osthodo Chetoa, or Toaga Ikanoka, the cripple who is whole. Just
Yeah,
a lot of
totally
names.
correct.
Yeah, I don't know if any of those are right. We're just going with it. So he tells Aragon to trust Arya and follow her to Elsmira and to trust the elves, and that's how he'll find him. So great. After that, Aragon wakes up to Angela beside him, and then once he gives the okay, Angela opens the door, and we get Saphira, Murtagh, and Arya entering the room. We find out that Saphira breathed fire for the first time. I don't know if we found that out the last time, but it was confirmed either way.
We gotta talk about that.
Yeah. I can't remember if I've just forgotten because of my boat brain or if it was just confirmed for us. But anyways, that was confirmed. Arya destroyed the Star Sapphire, and once the Shade was destroyed, all the Urkels turned on each other and then started fighting each other, so they won! The Earls didn't win, sorry, the Varden won. It was victory. Anyways, and the book ends with Aragon vowing to find the cripple who is whole, which is just... Anyways, that's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
just
The end.
just so we can say it immediately.
Yeah.
Just some light ableism to end the book on.
Yeah.
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 But anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the end of the book. Wow.
That's the end of the book.
This is the
We
end.
made it.
Pretty cliffhangery last chapter, which was wild because like the whole plot of the book only happened in the last 2 chapters
Uh-huh.
before this.
Uh-huh.
And then to just be like, anyway, that's done.
That's over.
Yeah. It's one way to write an ending. Would I say
Yeah.
it's a good ending? Probably not, but it's one way to do it.
Yeah.
I do, like, I have to give it credit in that it does set up, like, an entirely new
It does.
part of the story.
Yeah.
Like, you
It
know
does.
where Aragon is going to go next, and you do get the sense that the next book is going to be bigger than this one. And,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
stakes and lore and everything like that. So, like, that's good.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure how he was going to pull that off, but you are right. He did do it. Albeit very late, but he did do it.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here and be like, wow, having somebody like Deus Ex Machina show up in a dream and be like, here's the next part of the plot is like not exactly the most artful way to go about doing it, but he did do it. It's not like there is no precedent for weird dreams in this book, and also it's not like this has been overused so far in this book specifically, and also
Yeah.
I am the inheritance cycle apologist on this podcast, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah. You know, maybe just once in one of his other weird dreams, he could have been like, oh, weird, I heard this voice.
Yeah.
That
You
was
know?
my thought. It just came
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Like, I feel like there should have been some lead up to it, unless, like, Durza had to be destroyed in order for him to, like, get that connection, then sure, fine, that makes sense. But I feel like that's not the case, but I don't know.
How do we feel about, like, spoilers now that we're not reading any more Aragon?
Oh,
I
fine, go.
Looked
go
up a
for
bunch
it.
of spoilers, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't remember a ton of details because I haven't read the rest of the series yet, obviously. But my remembrance is that this is an old elvish dragon rider who has, like, a chronic injury where he can't do much magic anymore.
Okay.
So perhaps the reason why Aragon hasn't heard from him yet is that, like, he hasn't had the strength or the ability to, like, send himself through magic to Aragon until Aragon was in, like, desperate need to protect his consciousness from the Shade.
Okay.
Right, okay.
However, for this book alone, I don't like that he just showed up out of nowhere. Like, I really, like Sophie said, think it would have been better if Aragon had had the touch of an alien consciousness in another dream
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe to work around that, it would have been cool to see in a dream, like, Aragon get pulled there, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because the end here where he's talking to this Mourning Sage, the guy is like, you are strong, you are more powerful than you know, you are, like, he's basically hyping Aragon up, you know, being like, wow, you're amazing. Incredible.
Yeah.
And Aragon is like, wow, you're right, I am amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine being like that. Someone being like, no, you're cool. And being like, yeah, okay.
I
Can't.
could never.
Instead of second guessing it forever. And so it would have been interesting to see like maybe a dream where Aragon ends up in like this glade that he pictures and he's like, whoa, what's going on? And gets some sort of, cryptic message and then wakes up. That would have been fun.
Yeah. Or even if it was written in a way that it's similar to how he was like sleep scrying Arya. If it was
Yeah.
like, oh, he's doing the same thing, like he's somehow scrying this person in his sleep. And like when he did that with Arya before, she looked up and saw that he was there. So it could have been the same kind of thing where like Aragon saw this guy who looked up and then said, I am the Mourning Sage, the cripple who is whole, come to me, you will not be able to complete your training, whatever. Like that.
Yeah.
Would have been a little more at least consistent with what's been established already in this book.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I mean, I liked that it was like in this moment where Aragon needed help. It was like, ooh, an exciting thing is happening.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I
Yeah,
have
I'm okay
no
with that.
memory of this part of the book. Like a lot of the book while I'm reading it, because I read this book like several times when I was really into it in roughly 2003 or 5 or whenever. And a lot of the book I'll remember and be like, oh yeah, I think I kind of remember this part. But this part I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
When did this guy show up?
I mean, it's not memorable in this book for sure.
Yeah.
Like, he shows up in the last chapter.
Yeah. As a voice.
Yeah, as a voice. Well, Aragon sees him, but doesn't see his face. There's, like, a silver nebula over his face, and he's like, I am Astato Chitoa, the Mourning Sage, and Togiri Ikunoka, the cripple who is whole. Doesn't say his fucking name, which would actually be helpful, especially because he's like, go with Arya to Elismera, she will know how to find me. Then Aragon could wake up and be like, hey,
some guy?
This guy, here's his name, told me to, like, come with you to Elismera, and she'd be like, oh, I know that guy because I'm also from Elismera, let's go there. Like,
let's go there.
This guy, he's like a dragon rider, right? You could be like, I am a dragon rider, I can teach you, like, I'm the last of our kind before you or whatever, like, come to me and I can help you.
Yeah.
Instead of just being unnecessarily cryptic.
Everybody is obsessed with not telling Aragon that they're dragon riders.
But, like, Aragon's too naive to know better, too. Like, how does he know that this isn't a trap?
Right?
Like, nothing that this person has said to him in his head has any indication that, like, he really means to help Aragon. Like, it could all just be a trap!
He does say, like, you cannot tell anybody that I spoke to, and I'm like, this is a thing that groomers say to their victims. Like, that's not okay,
not
my dude.
Cool.
Not super chill to tell children to do things for you and say, but it's our little secret.
What are you talking about? Aragon is an adult man.
Sorry, I forgot. He's a 16-year-old adult.
I mean, we have talked about it. In Fantasyland, he pretty much is an adult.
He basically is. He's gonna die at 23, probably, of old age, so...
Exactly.
I cannot remember because I read too many fantasy books that have mind talking in them. Is there anything in this book about how you can't, like, is there like, oh, you can't lie when you're speaking mind to mind?
You can't lie in the ancient language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's an elf? Did we think he's speaking the ancient language?
I assume he must be speaking the ancient language. He is an elf.
Yeah.
Which I know because I remember, but also, like, he he's from Elismera, he knows Arya, his mind feels like Arya's mind, so, like, there are a lot of context clues.
Yeah, I liked that it's like elves have music in their heads.
Voices.
Music voices. I love that.
Yeah, that line of describing this guy's voice, I really liked, actually. Describing his mind, rather. It says, it was deep amber gold chords that throbbed with magisterial melancholy.
Yeah.
Which is, like, very overwrought, as this book is. But it's, like, a really good description.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like it.
It gives you, like, a solid...
Yeah.
It does a good job of telling you what it feels like.
Yeah, and, like, he uses color and magisterial, I don't even know what category of word that is, but, like, uses words that aren't technically... Well, yes, sorry. He uses words that aren't sound related to describe the sound.
Right.
Which I find appealing.
Yep. Good writing there.
Good writing. That one line is pretty good.
I will actually say I found that this chapter was overall better written than the rest of the book. But I don't know if that's just because I'm still in boat haze, but I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, this is like actually kind of written okay. I'm not mad.
He probably wrote this like near the beginning, right?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is how it's gonna end, and came back to it over and over and over and over.
Yeah, probably.
That's
It
what I would
feels
do.
like that.
You're like, that's, yeah.
Gotta write the ending.
Yeah, edit this part 400 times, edit the
Yeah.
rest of it maybe 10.
Yeah, exactly.
That checks.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I want to talk about the shade, because our working theory is
Mhm.
that the shade spirit, when the body gets killed, goes and rebuilds a fleshy exosuit.
Uh-huh.
That's our current working theory.
Yeah.
But in this case, it sort of seems like the shade's consciousness or like self is trying to like get rid of Eragon from Eragon's body,
It does.
you know?
Yeah.
Oh, like to like inhabit Aragon's body?
Yeah, or something, because it seems like Eragon, he's describing it as like his self has to be pulled into a little barricaded sphere or whatever, you know,
Right.
and that
Yeah.
he has to protect it from the shade that is trying to like tear away all his memories and sense of self. And so it's just like, that's interesting.
You just want vampires to be parasites real bad, don't you?
It's a magic parasite.
It's like
God, that's
Twilight
even worse.
vampires are parasites, and now this is a parasite.
And then Durza bites him and injects the fungus that slowly turns him into a vampire.
Then his body becomes hard all over in a different way.
No! That already happened.
In a different way, though, Sophie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't really have any discussion points. I just wanted to
point
say
out.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we do get Eragon being called Shadeslayer for the first time, which is
Oh,
a
yeah.
name that follows him throughout the rest of the series. That's like his
Okay.
defining event for his like fantasy
His
name.
hero name.
His randomly generated fantasy name.
Yeah. Shade Slayer.
Are there any more shades that come up, or is that like the only one that we ever see?
It's the only one I remember. That doesn't really mean much.
I mean, it feels like something that would be done like just like a first book villain kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like you
Yeah.
never hear of them ever again.
It's like easy mode Galbatorix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's supposed to fight the Razak at some
I
point.
really thought the Razak were going to come back at the end
I
of this
forgot
book.
about them.
Yeah, what are they up to?
Where did they go?
I have like a pretty strong memory of Eragon fighting the Razak in Hellgrind, and I thought that was going to happen in this book, and then it didn't. So I don't know when that happens, but it
Wait,
definitely
didn't it?
happens at some point.
Didn't they like invade him in a cathedral or something?
Yeah, but I'm I have in my head that he is in the mountain with them.
Oh.
But is it possible that I dreamed that at one point and then decided it was canon? Absolutely.
Probably, maybe.
Okay, anyway, Eragon like wakes up. Can we talk about the thing that all three of us just fucking missed?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we did all miss it, right?
We did. I went back
Okay. Because I was like, he said that, and I was like, wait, we didn't talk about that. Because I remember us being so confused because we were like, she
Yeah.
hasn't breathed fire yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Wow.
was reading this chapter and Eragon was like, you breathed fire, I saw you. And I was like, I didn't? Like, what?
I sure didn't.
I didn't either.
When was
I don't know how
it?
all three of us managed to miss that. To be fair, it's one line. Let me
Oh, there
backtrack
it
a little
is.
bit. When the star sapphire breaks, Eragon sees in the center of the chamber, hurtling downward headfirst, was Saphira. Her jaws were open, and from between them erupted a great tongue of flame, bright yellow and tinged with blue.
How did we miss that?
I don't know. One would assume with like three of us we would have noticed that, but no.
Someone would have caught it.
None of
I'm embarrassed for us.
so am I.
That's so wild.
It's so embarrassing.
Okay,
It's
wait.
a good thing we don't have much of a listenership because somebody would have dragged us by now.
Dragged us
Oh,
so hard.
100%.
Oh my god.
A bunch of idiots.
We were all just having like a week when it was that recording session.
Yeah,
Like we're
It's
just
not even in my notes. Wild.
Me
Okay.
neither. I just did not register it at
Yeah.
all.
Funny. But yeah, I would love to talk about breathing fire.
Yeah, Saphira can breathe fire, turns out.
Yeah. Just
Yay!
cut this part out and put it in the previous episode. Oh my god. Yeah, well, Hannah, I know you have some ideas about how dragons could breathe fire.
Yes, but they're secrets.
Okay, they're secrets. Never
Oh.
mind. I mean, Hannah's never had an idea ever. I'll talk about some things I looked up
Okay.
Sure.
instead. Because I will say the best thing about Game of Thrones is everybody's on the internet talking about how biologically dragons could breathe fire.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So great. And I actually learned a thing that I hate knowing now. But
Uh-oh.
the big one that people like to cite a lot when they talk about actually like non-magical based fire breathing is the bombardier beetle.
Oh, yeah.
Bombardier beetle is like, it's just this little beetle, and when it's threatened, it sprays boiling hot hydroquinone, which burns when it touches you.
Hell yeah.
Because it's boiling hot and also it's hydroquinone.
Is that an acid? What is that?
I don't really know. So it's a solution of hydrogen peroxide and hydroquinones.
Okay.
Anyway, it's complicated and I don't really understand it because chemistry. But I know that it's not boiling hot in the beetle's body, but the beetle has like separate cavities for each of these reactants, I guess, chemicals.
right.
And
Yeah.
when it sprays them both, they like combine in the air and create this
Okay.
like boiling hot chemical soup that then burns the predator.
Yeah.
So it'd be like an exothermic reaction, right?
Yeah, but it's very exothermic. And so that's like a big one people like to cite. It's not fire, but it is just a mixture of chemicals that burns. So another thing I saw was that people talk about the origin of myths of dragons breathing fire, because like the original myths don't really ever talk about fire. I mean, they also don't usually talk about flying.
Yeah.
Usually it's just that dragons are venomous, and they think that maybe fire breathing was mistranslated at some point
That makes
because
sense.
like venom or toxin can like burn,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so another animal people like to talk about are the spitting cobras,
Ooh.
because there are very large cobras that can spit their venom pretty far. And a thing I learned today is that there's a word for venom that gets spat, and that's a toxungin.
Oh.
Toxungin, I think.
Toxungin.
The biggest spitting cobra can be up to 2 meters long, which is 6.5 feet long.
So big.
Yeah, kind of makes sense that people would be like, that's a dragon. And it's breathing fire in my eyes.
What kind of snake is that?
That's the Ashes spitting cobra, or just the giant spitting cobra.
See, that's what we needed in 2020. You have to stay one Ashes spitting cobra apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I don't think it can spit. I think it can spit further than that, but just
Dang.
like the normal length of the snake. Stay apart.
Yeah. Pretend you're an Ashes spitting cobra and don't touch anybody near you.
And don't touch anybody near you at all. And then the third one and last one I want to talk about is a fulmar, which is a kind of bird.
Oh, yeah. Not a try guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. Hannah!
Oh.
Swear to God. I'm going to pronounce it fulmar.
Fulmar, yeah.
Fulmar is how you say the name. I've decided.
I don't think it is, but go
It's
on.
an A, so it's probably fulmar.
Fulmar.
And they like make this oil
Yeah.
in their stomach. And I'm looking at a picture of it and it's horrible.
That
Oh, no.
sounds awful.
They make this oil that is like close to the composition of like diesel.
Ugh.
And they just make it in their stomach and then vomit it at
Ew.
whatever is threatening them.
It just yarts on their enemies.
Yeah. And so the idea here is that like this is not fire. It's not flammable. But there are a bunch of different cases where like animals are making these chemicals and the mechanism to then spit the chemicals.
Yeah.
And so all one would have to do is make a chemical that's flammable.
Yeah.
and some way to light it, you know?
I like the way they address that in How to Train Your Dragon, which is one of my favorite movies, where the dragons exhale gas and then can like spark the gas,
Yeah.
and that's what that's where the fire comes from.
Yeah.
I like
Yes.
that.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think that people coming up with ways that make sense and is not just magic to do stuff like this is great, but
Yeah.
I'm specifically that kind of person, as this podcast shows.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's too bad this didn't come up sooner, so we could have really like dug down into it.
But maybe we'll talk about it again.
We do have a whole fun episode coming up about that. Stay tuned.
That was really the 3 horrible animal adaptations I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
So, spitting boiling hot basic liquids, spitting venom, and spitting oil puke.
Okay, well, my one qualifier is that bombardier beetles do shoot it out their butts.
That's fun.
Okay, so you can spit up, puke, spit venom, or fart acid.
Yeah.
Sorry, base. I looked it up. It's a base.
It's a base.
Fart base.
Now that's a name-generated name.
That's a randomly generated name right there. Randomly generated by the bombardier beetle.
Yeah, they did it.
Is it a bombardier beetle?
That's a great question. Probably. I don't know. Did you have anything to say about fire-breathing dragons? Either of you?
Not really.
Not really. I always believed it was the like 2 liquid compartments meeting and then causing a chemical reaction, and then I never thought much about how it actually got out though.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like you just provided 3 excellent
Excellent
real life examples of how animals
Yes.
could evolve this capability. So I'm good.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm on Team Gas, but that's not something that happens in your real world analogs.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'm more inclined to like the 2 liquids kind of thing, because I feel like it's very common for like a venom sac, but like basically 2 different venom sacs that just make a chemical reaction. But like the How to Train Your Dragon one is definitely like, I don't think there's really anything wrong with it. I just feel like it may not be as plausible.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
If dragons were real.
Yeah. My only other question is, why was Saphira breathing fire down onto Eragon?
I
also wondered this. I was like, wait, why was it coming towards him? Because Arya said she was the one that like slows down the glass from actually like hurting Eragon. So why is she breathing fire? Like, did she burn the shade?
That's what I was wondering.
They were like locked in combat.
I know. That's why I was like,
maybe she like burned the body,
or maybe it was like an anger signal, or like I think we've talked about this before, how like some dragons like they have to like spark, or they have that moment where they breathe fire. Maybe this was her moment. Like Eragon was in mortal danger, so she was just like, fire.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going with.
Yeah.
Because a lot of what Saphira has done has been involuntary so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would believe that it's like that, but also, like Sam was just talking about, the Aurelian Cycle dragon books that Sam and I both really liked. It's sort of like dragon puberty, but with an impetus of mortal danger.
Yeah. That's why I feel like that one is gonna stick with me for like how dragons actually start breathing fire, because it just makes sense,
Yeah. It was a really good scene in Fireborn, and like slightly less good in this book because none of the 3 of us noticed.
I mean, I think that says something about the 2 writing styles. I'm just saying.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, also it was like funny to me going back to read that section to just remember that like Arya had this like super badass entrance on Saphira, which like Eragon has yet to have.
Yeah.
Go Arya.
Girl power.
It's not even your dragon.
Nope. The other like sort of biology-y thing for Saphira in this chapter, just very minor, is that when Eragon wakes up and tells Angela to like let everybody into his room, she can't fit through the door, so she sticks her head in.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't tell us a lot. I think we kind of figured that she was about 12 to 13-ish feet tall. Was sort of where we landed,
8
so
feet
that would
at the
make sense.
shoulder or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked up the average sizes of doors.
Oh, good.
just because that's who I am.
Uh-huh.
So normal today doors are about 6 feet 8 inches tall.
Okay, so she's probably taller than that.
Yeah, and probably wider than 32
Much wider.
inches. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
much.
probably. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But we now know her head is smaller than that.
It's true.
That's a good metric, though. Yeah. And did she stick her head and neck in? Because then that also gives us kind of a idea of the width of or circumference of her neck.
Yeah, she like snakes her head in with her long neck.
Long neck.
Which does then beg the question of how big are Ajahad's doors?
Yeah, how did she get in there?
From the last chapter.
Wait, and aren't these dwarf doors?
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking.
Oh, yeah.
These aren't human doors.
So if human doors are 6 feet 8 inches,
Oh my
dwarf
God.
doors are probably 5 foot 8 inches.
Yeah, so really this tells us nothing.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's fun.
Anyway, yeah, Saphira can't fit through the door and she purrs when she sees Eragon, which is very cute.
That is very cute.
I mean, she, quote, hums deeply, but like...
Basically purring.
Basically purring.
We can't talk about purring.
No, we
because
can't
of the
talk about
books I just
purring.
read.
Oh, God. I was just going to say because it would take too long. We can't
Also
talk about
that.
purring, but purring is a really interesting biological activity. But also
Yeah.
Murtagh is here.
Murtagh is there.
We love Murtagh. Arya is there.
The
Murtagh tells
gang's
us
all there.
the gang's all there. The two people that Eragon is in love with.
Yep.
Murtagh says that when the Shade's spirits disappeared, the Urgles all like came out of a trance and started fighting against each other, which we sort of were speculating might happen. So point to us.
Yep.
Yep.
Good job, us.
Good job, us. Weird
Yeah.
though, because like, why
Yeah.
did they fight each other?
Because they're a warlike race or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know. They're savages.
They must
They're
have had
savage.
like
Nope.
different clans that mixed together and they were
Yeah.
enemy clans or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
But also there
Yeah.
was like Kulls and Urgles, right? And the Kulls probably hated the Urgles just like the Uruk-hai hated the Orcs and vice versa. So
Who knows? We don't have enough information to draw any conclusions at this
When
time.
we read the rest of the series.
Yeah,
when
we'll
Hannah
let you
reads
know.
the rest of the series.
When
I'll
Hannah
let you
reads the rest
know.
of the series. Yeah.
I will not.
One last thing before we talk about our thoughts overall. Eragon wakes up and realizes that like the injury he took to his back has healed
yeah.
into, quote, a huge ropey scar stretching from his right shoulder to his opposite hip. And he's all sad that he's now deformed, which is like kind of problematic.
Yeah.
But the scar is actually problematic for Eragon going forward. Spoiler again, I guess. It like
Frodo being stabbed with a Nazgul blade.
very Frodo being stabbed with a
Mhm.
Nazgul blade. And while I was reading this, I was like, I didn't clock that Eragon becomes like a chronically ill protagonist
Yeah.
after this book, but like that's kind of cool. The fact that he's immediately like, I am deformed is like not my favorite.
Yeah, not cool.
Especially because he does it right in front of his best friend Murtagh, who has a matching scar down his back.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
Eep.
not very considerate of you to your best friend, but
Yeah,
whatever.
Cool. Cool of you. So cool of you.
So cool of you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eragon wallows in self-pity for a while and then
Yeah.
decides he's going to go to Elismera to find the Mourning Sage.
Yeah. Also, Angela's there.
Also, Angela's there.
Angela,
Still wearing
but
her
not
armor, even though it's
Solembum.
been a day and a half. Solembum
Yeah.
is probably
Solembum.
off eating Urgle corpses or something creepy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He and Saphira probably ate a bunch of them while Eragon was sleeping.
Yeah. They went out and feasted.
A yuck.
Yuck.
Yeah, but that's Eragon.
That's Eragon. We did it.
We did it.
We
Yay!
read this whole book.
I just my thoughts on the end of the book are
Yes.
that I remember loving this book as a child, and really I think that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like, I didn't hate reading this book now. I mean, we picked up on a lot of little things, and maybe the plot was whatever sometimes, but I thought it was the coolest thing ever when I was however old I was, so thumbs up from me still.
Yep, I still like it. I'm still calling this a 4-star read. Like, it definitely has its problems. It's not the best written thing I've ever read,
Yeah.
but I have like so much nostalgia for it, and just like I love the dragon riding genre of books
Yeah.
so much that like it can get away with a lot for me.
That's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like big nostalgia points from Hannah and I. So, Sam,
Yes.
how is it without the nostalgia?
It's not good.
What?
No, I can
What?
I can say that I think if I had read this and had that nostalgia, like I think I would have enjoyed this as a kid. But the fact
Yeah.
is now is like I've read so much and like yeah, I can't. And like the writing style in it, it's written very much for children. So again, it's like if I had read it as a kid and then reread it now, I feel like it would be a completely different story. But like reading this for the first time at like 30 is
Okay, when you put it that way.
yeah, like it's not bad, but it's nothing groundbreaking. And
Yeah.
like if we weren't doing this all together, I wouldn't have ever picked it up. That being said, like if there's like media that comes out with it, like I think we'll probably talk about it later. There's like the Disney Plus show. I probably will watch that now. I never did watch the movie though either when I was
Don't.
a kid.
Don't.
I know
It doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist.
There's no Aragon movie, there's no War in Bossing Say.
Yeah.
So like in short, if you like this book, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're gonna read this book for the first time at 30, maybe don't. And
Yeah.
just read something else.
I feel like it's important to say also that like Hannah and I still enjoy reading middle grade books.
Yeah.
And
I
you
don't.
do not.
I
So
cannot.
there's also that. Like there was
Yes.
this whole thing was set up for you to not like this book.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Sorry.
no, it's like fine. I had a good time with you guys, and like it is what it
You-
is. It's just
yeah.
like I am probably going to be harsher on the book than either of you
Yeah.
because it's just like I'm looking at it through a completely different lens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard for me not to look at it and be like, really? But again, like I think it's a great kids book. It's written so kids can enjoy fantasy, and it's a great way for people to get into the genre as they're
Mhm.
growing up. And so
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't think Pellini did anything horrible in it like some other authors that we grew up with.
Like some other authors we've read on this podcast.
Yeah. So it's just like I don't really hold him to anything like against that. Like I still would say, yeah, like kids should read this. I think it's a great way for them to get into reading.
Mhm.
But am I gonna read the rest of this? No. And honestly, like I don't think I'm ever gonna read another Pellini book. I had his adult book on my like to read list for a while because the cover was so cool. But then I read this and it has so many bad reviews that I was like, I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were willing to kind of give it a shot reading it for the first time at 30, because I think it's really interesting to have that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's no way Sophie and I could have come into this with anything even remotely approximating an unbiased lens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, I was really curious to see how you would feel about it. And even though I don't agree with your opinions,
That's
think-
fine.
I think they're all very valid and very interesting. But yeah, I definitely think, and I'm glad you agree, that this is a great gateway fantasy
Oh yeah.
for younger readers. I know we said that like when we first started this book,
Yeah.
that's sort of what it was, and like having read it again, I agree. I still think it's a good gateway book. He doesn't do anything groundbreaking, and like he
No.
doesn't do anything super original, but it's like all of kind of the fun tropes that like, or I guess not even fun, but like the classic fantasy tropes that you're going to see when you start reading like more high fantasy stuff, and it's just in a package that's accessible for 12-year-olds.
Yeah, it's essentially just Lord of the Rings, but written in a way that kids can actually appreciate. Because like, no kid, I don't know. I tried to read Lord of the Rings when I was like,
Oh my god.
like 15, and it's not happening. But this is like essentially all the same themes, and a lot of this is obviously inspired by Tolkien itself, but at least gives kids a way to get there, and then when they're older they can be like, oh, okay, and go out to Tolkien and then kind of see where it all started. So
Yeah. My good friend in elementary and high school at one point very much offended me by complaining that Aragon was just Star Wars but fantasy. So this is my public apology to Felix, who does not listen to this podcast, that he was absolutely right. And it totally is.
yeah.
But that doesn't
Yeah.
mean it's bad.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
This is not going to be a reference that either of you understand.
Uh-huh.
But I've said this before.
Mercedes Lackey.
No. Well, I've said
Laura
that before
Pierce.
a lot. Yes. Nope. You won't guess it, unfortunately. But
Wow.
what I've said a lot before is that, like you've been saying, like it's a gateway book. And I do think Aragon didn't do anything. Aragon the book didn't do anything groundbreaking. But I feel like it kind of did do a little bit of groundbreaking in the teen genre.
Okay.
Like I feel like maybe it wasn't the first, but it was definitely like a big breakout first of this kind of genre in teen, you know?
I think
like,
so, yeah.
Again,
I agree with
the teen genre isn't that old.
No.
You know? And so I do think it did do very important work, groundbreaking in that respect. And the reference I'm going to make is a lot of people talk about the video game BioShock and how BioShock at the time like was this incredible thing because it did a whole bunch of stuff that hadn't been done before. But if you go and play BioShock now, like every video game ever has pulled everything from that game and made it better. So if you go back and play that video game, you're like, everything has been like, this is just everything else. You know, there's nothing new about this game. And it's like, well, because you had to do it at the time, you know?
Yeah.
And in the moment where this game came out, or in the moment where Aragon came out, it was like, wow, amazing. But anytime after that, you're not going to get the same experience, you know?
No.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So I just want that to be noted. And that I do, obviously I can't tease apart how I felt at the time or what the book world looked like at 2003 because I don't remember anything other than Tamora Pierce. But I feel like Aragon did that, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think so. I mean, my brother was never a reader, and he was the one who had all 3 of the books. I think there's 4, but he stopped at 3. But he was the one that read these books. It wasn't even me. And like he enjoyed them. I remember like they were like his favorite books. And then I don't know why I didn't read them. Probably because there was no vampires.
Because there were boy books.
Yeah, that's actually probably why I didn't. Honestly, because like I grew up in the very much like it was ingrained in me. Like you like girl things, he likes boy things, and so like I probably didn't read them because I thought they were like quote unquote boy books, which is so stupid. But honestly, it's probably why.
It's a boy main character. Why would we have anything?
I read Harry Potter. Like,
it's like it's if we were looking for girl main characters, our options were not
Tamora Pierce.
No. But that's why like my reading took off though at the peak of Twilight because that's when the female protagonist became like everything.
True.
Right? Yeah. So it was like I didn't really read a lot. Like I used to read like Goosebumps, Animorphs, like Harry Potter, like a few other things, but it really wasn't until Twilight that I was like, oh my god, I gotta read everything. So yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think of any middle grade / early teen books that I read that didn't have a boy protagonist, and
I don't think you can think of one.
Having a hard time.
Yep. Yeah. Certainly not off the top of my head.
Nope.
I think I read a few that like weren't
Tamora Pierce, but I said that already.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway. I definitely had a few. Anyway. Yeah, these books were incredibly popular.
Oh, yeah.
I looked up the stats. The series of like the 4 main books have sold over 41 million copies.
Wow.
Like that's a huge series. That's
Okay.
big.
That's
I'm
a
sorry.
lot.
For reasons for next episode,
Uh-huh.
we're re-listening to episodes. I literally just re-listened to our first Aragon episode. We talked about this extensively.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
I'll get to my next point then, which is I looked into like what is kind of happening now in the world of Aragon, because like,
Oh my god, me too.
what is it? Inheritance was the last one. It came out in 2011.
Yeah.
And since then there has been, oh, what's it called? The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm, which is like a sort of sequel to the main Inheritance cycle.
Yeah.
But it's one of those like, here are 3 short stories that like have no real bearing on the plot things. I haven't read it yet. I'm just getting this from shirticle.com.
Yep. Uh-huh.
But this website on like several different places says that Christopher Paolini has planned a book 5 that is going to be like a standalone sequel set in the same timeline but with like different characters, and he has like a bunch of ideas of like how to tie up loose ends that he did not tie up in the actual series. But it seems like there's at least one book that Paolini has said like, yes, there's going to be a book 5, which is interesting.
Yeah,
That's
I came across
interesting.
this too, and I was like, pardon? What? How have I
Yeah.
never heard this before? Because he's been
Right?
talking about it since 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, I was like, is he following in the trend? Because, like, it seems like every big
I know.
author from that time is, like, writing a follow-up to their original success series.
You know, apparently he's been talking about it for a while.
Okay,
Yeah,
so...
did you see his quote about what the book is going to be about? It's what he said is, everyone in Allegasia has overlooked something really, really important with regard to the new peace they hope to establish.
Yeah, I
And
did
it's
see
like,
that.
that's ominous.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Also, because we haven't read book 4, it's like, what peace?
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Eragon becomes king, right? Like, that's what happens, right?
He doesn't.
Oh. Does Murtaugh?
No. If I remember correctly, and I am maybe 60% sure, I feel like Roran becomes king.
What?
I might be wrong. It's
That's
definitely
so
not Aragon or
random.
Murtagh.
I feel like within 3 books, there's a reason why it's Roran.
There must be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roran becomes a POV character later in the series.
This
Yeah.
is like Bran ending up on the Iron Throne, where if he said it at the beginning, it wouldn't make any sense, but then at the end, it still doesn't make any sense, but okay.
Yeah. Oh,
Should I
and
spoil
I feel
some
like
more things for you,
I just
Sam?
want to say the one spoiler
What?
that I think Sam needs to know is that
Yeah.
Brahm is actually Aragorn's
yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? He
Brahm
was
is
that
actually
horrible to his own son?
Aw.
What?
Okay, well, the other half of that is that Selena is Murtagh's mom,
Yeah.
which you sort of know already.
Yeah, I knew that.
So they are
They're
actually
half-
brothers.
They are actual literal brothers.
They're not even half brothers? Brahm is
Oh, I guess
Murtagh's
they're
No,
father
they're
too?
half brothers.
half brothers.
Okay,
Yeah.
They're half
half-brothers.
brothers, yeah.
What?
Murtagh becomes a dragon rider, and so does
How old is
Arya.
Brahm?
Well, he's a dragon rider. He's like an infinite.
I know,
number
but
of
I
years
always
old.
pictured him as like a Gandalf-like character.
He is.
I mean,
I
get it on, sure, bud.
think I thought he was like late 40s.
Oh no, I was
Physically
envisioning
aged.
like Gandalf.
Oh, okay.
Well, it does say that he has like a long beard, but like one of my friends is like 27 and he has a
I
long
was gonna
beard, so that
say.
means nothing.
You can have a long beard.
Yeah.
Again,
Age.
I have Tolkien in my brain, so I was just like Gandalf. Oh my god, what? When does he find out?
He finds out, or I think Murtagh, so, okay, we're just gonna go for it. Murtagh goes missing and basically gets, like, kidnapped back to Galbatorix,
Okay.
and then he becomes, like, one of the eggs hatches for him, and Murtagh and the egg are both, like, tortured into being Galbatorix's servant, so he goes out
Yeah.
and tries to hurt Aragon
Okay.
with the information that Aragon is also, like, Aragon is his brother, and they are both the sons of Morzan. And that's in book 2. And then I think near the end of book 2, maybe, or in book 3, he finds out that it was actually Brom all along.
Wow.
It's like a whole thing.
Brom
Myrte gets
knew?
like hardcore sad boy later on.
This is why Hannah likes him so much.
Yeah. Alright, I'll stop freaking out now, but damn.
I know, I was shocked also.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I was also like 13, but I was shocked.
Oh my god. Actual dad.
Actual dad.
So all those times we joked about Aragon's dads dying all the time, actually true.
Actually true, yeah.
Actually
true.
It was actually for real.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
The twins are actually evil.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Arya
yeah.
falls in love with Aragon, probably.
I think, yeah.
Inevitable.
I know they have like a really fraught relationship that's super annoying, or at least it is when you're 13.
Mhm.
Yeah, fair. At least it is when you're Hannah.
It is when you're me. Aragon gets like more and more like Harry Potter and Order of the Phoenix angsty.
Great.
Yeah, fair.
That's fair. I mean, if I
Yeah.
was the hero of the realm, I
Honestly,
would
yeah.
also be
Oh my God.
depressed.
Yeah, it would be such a There's on this website, it has like confirmed story elements in future books, which like I don't know how confirmed it is, but one of the subheadings is vampires.
Blah.
And all it says is when asked about the existence of vampires in Allegasia, the author said yes, ... and no. That's a subject for a future story.
Shade.
What?
It's a
The
shade.
shade.
It's the
the
shade.
Shade.
It's the shade.
You
Yeah.
can't tell
Confirmed.
me that the shade isn't a vampire.
The shade is absolutely
It is
a vampire.
A vampire.
A
He's a
vampire.
Twilight vampire, and no one
Yep.
can convince me otherwise.
Nope.
Yep.
I refuse to be convinced. But in addition to all of these books that are apparently coming eventually, there's an Aragon Disney Plus TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is confirmed, but still in like such early production that like it hasn't been casted, it hasn't like started shooting or anything. They're just, we think, at this point
Yeah.
working on writing the show. But Christopher Paolini is actually like a co-writer and a producer. So that's promising.
This is so great. Between this and like Percy Jackson, I'm like,
Yeah.
please, like, why have they not been including the authors
Right?
previously? Like, it doesn't make any sense
No.
to
It doesn't
me.
make any sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they did the same with like House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones. Like House of the Dragon, George R.R. Martin is like actually involved in it, and you can tell.
I just think that more media today, especially when you're making something of like an already existing IP,
Mhm.
like it needs to not be made by people who just want to like make a name for themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
It needs to be made by people who care about the story and
Yep.
the
Yeah.
thing they're making. And that's just my opinion.
I think
Yes,
that
but it's
they
correct.
are finally learning though. Like I feel like they're finally catching on because it seems like there's more good book adaptations happening in media now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like after they killed the Star Wars trilogy,
Oh my, yeah.
that they're like, "Oh, dang, we messed up."
Yeah.
They done f***ed up.
I feel like that's one of many influences that like the Game of Thrones show had on pop culture, right? As people saw how big a TV show based on a book could be.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it was the first one, but it's the first one I think that blew up the way it did.
Yeah.
I think
and
so,
then
yeah.
also how quickly it disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a
I
bad
mean, that's
job
a whole
with it.
other discussion,
Like,
but yeah.
people stopped talking about it within like a week.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Yeah,
know?
no one talks about it anymore.
Even like before House of the Dragon, it was like no one was talking about it. Everyone thought the show was going to be a flop. And then it
Yeah.
came out and it was like every person was like, "Oh, okay, this is what we liked. Like this is what we wanted from Game of Thrones."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like between the finale and I think like even like the last few months, Game of Thrones like just disappeared. A case study on how not to f up things.
Yeah.
Seriously.
We're getting off topic.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's
it's great
still
that
relevant.
Christopher Paolini is on the writing team for
Yes.
Aragon, the TV show.
I'm genuinely very excited.
Yeah,
for
I'm gonna
this.
watch it, I think.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch
probably
Percy
will.
Jackson. I'm gonna watch Aragon.
Oh man.
And hopefully they're both good.
It's gonna be great.
Sort of related to the TV show.
Sorry, can you guys hear that?
Sam was getting haunted, so we had to stop recording for a few minutes, and I have no idea what we were talking about.
It was genuinely
it's-
so spooky, and I've lost my train of thought.
It's
Yeah.
starting again.
Ah!
Ah,
Sam!
listen, we think your neighbors are just hammering something into the wall, yes? It sounds like a serial killer is about to, like, burst through Sam's window, but I don't think that's what happens in real life.
Yeah, which would
No.
also be wild because it's 3 floors up.
I'm very
Yeah.
far up.
Anyway, let's finish this episode before Sam gets murdered, because then I'm gonna be murdered next, and then there's only
Oh,
Hannah
God.
left. I forget what we were talking about, but what I wanted to talk about so briefly is how alive the Aragon fans are
Yeah.
on the
Oh,
internet.
yeah.
The fandom is so active.
The fandom is so active, and I talked about on a episode a while ago going on the subreddit and being like, oh my god, everyone's talking all the time on here. And so I went back on again to be like, is this still delightful? And it is still delightful, if you're wondering.
Aw.
Someone made a brisingr pumpkin like 2 days
Aw.
Oh
ago.
my god. Cool.
People are asking how did Aragon stop a spell after starting to cast it 4 days ago about Aragon Book 1.
Wow.
People have made a very long thread about wondering what Brahm said to Aragon before he died, because Christopher Paolini never addresses it. There's just a
What?
really long thread from like 6 days ago.
Wow.
I'm genuinely so happy to hear that.
I feel
Yeah.
like we need to be on Reddit so we can tell people about the podcast.
Hey guys,
turns
don't
out.
listen to it actually. You might not like our opinions.
Yeah. Mine specifically.
Yeah, just don't listen when Sam talks. Yeah, and then a question from a day ago that Hannah will like, which is, do you
Ooh.
guys think it would be common for the dragons of riders that fell in love to start having feelings for each other too, due to the mental
Yes.
bond shared between them and their riders?
Oh my god.
Yes.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
Uh-oh.
Aragon's dragon and Arya's dragon have babies.
Yeah.
Man, I really thought you were going to say Murtag's dragon.
Oh my god, that would be so great.
The romance we all really wanted.
Well, they did say in this book, Saphira is the only female dragon left. There were 2 other unhatched eggs and also Shruakin. And as you find out in one of the later books, there's also Glader, who is the dragon of the Mourning Sage.
Oh, okay.
But they're all male. So really, the responsible thing for Saphira to do would be to have eggs with all 3 of the remaining
Yeah,
non-corrupted
get it,
males.
girl.
It's for the survival of the species.
For the survival of the species. Anyway, yes, I think that's an interesting idea, and you're correct. I do like it.
Yeah, I just think it's delightful. Like, all of those were from within the past 2 days. Like, there's so much happening on that
that's so
subreddit.
awesome.
Like, half the reason, I'm sure, that 3/4 of the reason probably that there is a TV show is because the fans were just like screaming for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Being like, please.
There have been like coordinated social media campaigns
Yeah.
with like the hashtag Aragon remake on Twitter
Yeah.
that was like trending for a little while there in the summer or in the spring maybe of this year. Like they put the effort in for sure.
Didn't
Yeah.
it got revamped too, because once they announced Percy Jackson, wasn't everyone
Yeah.
like, oh, Aragon next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that. Listen, if we're if we're nominating fantasy series that
Del
should be
Toro
made
Quest.
in TV shows.
Yeah, we
Okay.
know.
Well, yes, there was actually a Del Toro Quest anime, but I heard it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But no, the other one is Temeraire would be so good.
Surely Naomi Novik is like becoming popular enough.
She
Naomi
is
Novik
now.
is like a big name
Yeah.
in fantasy writing.
Yeah, sorry, I was just thinking about an Uprooted or a Spinning Silver movie, and I was like, I
Ooh.
don't know that they would be good movies.
Oh no. What movie I feel like I saw something recently that they were like, oh, they're making a movie of this, and I was like, that's actually like, it's not a bad book, but it's gonna be a bad movie.
Oh.
Oh.
I can't
Wow.
remember what it was.
Let us
Although
know
I
if
did
you
also
think of it.
I did also see people saying that about the Love Hypothesis, which apparently is going
that
to be a
one-
movie.
That one is so silly.
Yeah, that's don't know how I feel about that.
I actually
Yeah.
don't want it to be a movie. Like,
No.
Yeah.
I don't
I feel like
at all.
when you get into both of the characters' heads,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
when you can read the words
Yes.
that explicitly describe how they
Yeah.
are acting or reacting or
Yes.
whatever, I feel like it's a lot less weird
Yes.
for concepts
agree.
like a professor dating a PhD student
Ugh.
Yep.
in the same school and
They're in the same
program. Anyway,
program. Yeah.
I mean, it happens all the time.
I think I just have a hard time with this because all of the professors in my program are 50 or older.
Do not want. I think I saw people talking about wanting The House on the Cerulean Sea as a movie. I don't know if that would be good. I feel like it would have to be animated, but like so much of it is like what goes on in the words.
I
You
feel
know?
like if it did, that kind of like whimsical
Yeah.
realism,
Okay, but imagine
Like-
like Ghibli-esque House on the Cerulean Sea.
Oh,
I'm
that
also
would be
like
good.
team animation for a lot of things.
Yeah,
So
unsurprisingly, Hannah and I also like animation as well as middle grade books.
You're making me really feel like the outcast here.
I don't know how it happened.
Oh,
It's okay.
man.
We'll talk about Ice Planet by Barbarians in a second.
Oh yeah, and why will we talk about that?
Because let's talk about what else we're reading. Because we're done Aragon now.
We're done
We're
Aragon
done,
now.
and we're not going to talk about it anymore, just like we never talked about Twilight again after we finished reading Twilight.
Okay, but actually before we move on.
Oh, right, wait.
We are going to talk about Aragon one more time in 2 weeks on November 11th. Make sure you come back for our summary of dragon biology episode.
Hell yeah.
If you were around for Twilight, we did our the Twilight Vampire Explained episode, and it was great. So we're gonna do that.
It was a good
again.
one.
I will just say the date is actually November 22nd.
Is that not what I said? That's what I meant to say.
You said November.
You said
11th.
November 11th. That is a
Oops.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had 22nd in my head and did not say it
You
out
did the
loud.
other
Thank you for
number.
That's
correcting
okay. I
me.
just want to make that clear for everyone.
I did everything for the Twilight one, so I don't really remember what happened in the Twilight episode. I just sort of blanked out and then came back at the end. But this time we're splitting it up, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and then after that, maybe not I can't remember if it's immediately or not, but after that, we're also going to have another Christmas special this year, so look
Wow.
forward to that. Should we give them a hint
No.
about what we're going to be reading next? See if anybody can guess.
Okay, the hint is that Sophie loved this book.
That's not a good hint.
Yeah, it is.
Sophie likes birds. There you go.
Okay, that's a good hint.
That's a really good hint.
If you can guess what book we're reading based on the clue that Sophie liked it and Sophie also likes birds, please let us know on Twitter. I'll send you a
Yeah.
sticker or something if you get it right.
Unless one of my real life friends that I saw last weekend listens to this episode, you're not allowed to guess.
Okay, so it's like car company sweepstakes where you cannot be an employee or family member.
You cannot be a real life friend that I may or may not have revealed the next book to.
Yeah, I told my boss which book we're reading next, and she
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I haven't read that," and I was like, "That's fine."
My friends, especially the one who knew me in middle school, said, "Of course you are." So
That's the clue. So if you hunt down somebody who knows us in real life and they tell you what book we're reading next,
yeah, if you hunt down somebody who knew me in 2005 or whatever, they'll know which book this is.
Oh man.
Anyway, let's talk about what else we're reading.
Yeah.
So, what I've read recently are two very lighthearted and whimsical books in a series called The Regency Fairy Tales. And it is historical fiction, but there's fairies in it. And it's just, they're so wholesome and cute, and I love them. It was
Wow.
just, the books were made for me specifically. It's just like, wow, we're gonna go on a very whimsical journey. And then at the end, it turns out they were in love. Wow, the end.
Wow.
Also, there's fairy tales. Ah, amazing. Wow.
So it's like a historical fiction love story with a fairy tale aspect.
Yeah.
They did
Nice.
write that just for you
They
specifically.
wrote it.
huh?
It just said the book. I didn't even say the title of the books, but it was just called Half a Soul, for Sophie.
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. There's a third book that I haven't read yet, but I'm sure it'll also be great. And then, as we've alluded to, I did a hard pivot and read the first 3 now books.
Oh my god.
of the Ice Planet Barbarian series.
You read
You
the first one
surpassed
2 days
me.
ago.
It took these books.
They're so
I read the
short.
first one in under an hour and a half.
Oh my god.
They're
They
so
are
short.
so fast. Okay, and I stand by that they are
Uh-huh.
extremely horny books. Oh my god. But they are also very campy and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
and
plot.
you're reading them for the plot.
I'm reading them for the plot.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I will read more of them, but I don't know. I just like every line of the book is just so silly, and like the person who wrote them, Ruby Dixon, I think is her
Yeah.
pen name,
Yeah.
is like clearly she's just having like the best time writing these books.
Yeah.
Like she's like, yeah, whatever, and then this happens. Oh, and this happens because it explained like this. Sure, whatever. Also, there's parasites.
Yeah.
No.
This is why I wanted you to read them.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
No.
There's like actual thought out why you have to get a parasite to live on this alien planet. And then also the parasites are part of the horny plot. But
But she actually puts so much thought into like the science around it too, which is hilarious.
Yeah. I know, it's so good. Well, because I think I was reading her author. This is a long time to talk about these
This
books.
has been going on
It's
for a while.
so long, but I feel very strongly that they're very fun and that nobody should read them because then they'll know what I have read. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, no, I read her autobiography. I think she's like a well-respected professional like article writer.
Oh, really?
That makes sense.
I think she writes for like the New York Times
Oh my goodness.
or something like that. So, yeah, anyway, it's a good time. Very fun, would recommend. Don't ever tell me if you read them is my final say on the word. Final word on the subject is what I meant to say. Anyway, someone else talk now. I talked for a really long time.
No, it's great. I'm so happy you finally read them. I have read 4 books since we last finished. I read The No-Show by Beth O'Leary, which if you like me, like romance but trauma, it's for you. Then I read Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and if you like horrible imagery but really creative horror, that's for you. Then I read Lachlan's, which is the final book in the Founders Trilogy.
Dang.
That was sad. Then we
Yeah.
then we read Royal Holiday by Jasmine Gulroy, which is like the 4th book in her rom-com series, and it was just kind of average. And now I'm reading Harrow the Ninth, which is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth, and I also started Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, and that's my wrap up.
Wow.
It's a lot.
I need you to tell me if the T. Kingfisher book is too scary for me.
I will. Right now, it started off, I've only gotten to 15%, and it's like kind of creepy, but I will keep you posted.
Okay, I can handle kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I have been doing some hardcore catching up on the Midlight Book Club since our last recording. So I have finally read Throne of Glass and Gideon the Ninth.
Yes!
Yeah!
Both of which I enjoyed.
She liked Throne of Glass, guys!
Yeah!
Shut up.
It makes me so happy!
I was like, damn it, this is actually kind of fun.
This is exactly what happens. Is you go, damn it, this is kind of fun, and then you're 9 books later.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Ice Planet Barbarians.
And then Ice Planet Barbarians.
Well, found the Ice Planet Barbarians gateway.
Yeah. It's Sarah J. Maas. Not necessarily wrong.
Nope.
I did read / am reading a couple of romance novels. One of them was by Tessa Bailey, and it was quite good but wildly horny. And then the one I'm currently reading is called Drive by Tamara Lush, and it is not very good, but it's about a race car driver and one of his pit crew who's like...
Yeah.
So I had to get it.
That's so good.
God, amazing.
And I'm also reading Eldest by Christopher Paolini.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, in the first chapter of that book, Ajahad f***ing dies and Murtagh gets kidnapped by Urgles, and Aragon is like,
what?
Aragon doesn't give a shit that Murtagh got kidnapped, but he does care that Ajahad died. It was literally the first chapter.
That literally checks with how, like, Aragon was so nonchalant about Murtagh for that whole time in Trotime.
Oh my god. They're like, wow, the battle's over, and then they're like, oh look, there's Ajahad, Murtagh, and the twins. Holy shit, there's a bunch of Urgles behind them, and by the time they get there, Ajahad is dying and Murtagh and the twins have disappeared.
What the
I'm like 4 chapters into it, and I can't... Doing this podcast has ruined it, because everything I read, I'm like, I gotta talk about this.
I gotta. Wow,
Oh
so much stuff happens.
So much stuff happens. They've like elected a new leader of the Varden, and like Aragon has sworn fealty and like caused problems. Oh, it's like a whole thing.
Damn.
Roran has had a POV chapter.
Amazing.
It's crazy stuff. The Razak are coming to Carvajal.
Are you keeping track of every time Aragon wakes up and goes to sleep?
He did do that twice already. Oh my god, I forgot to talk about that.
Oh yeah! You can talk about it now.
Guys, I counted and I did the stats, and it's about half of the chapters that Aragon wakes up and or falls asleep.
That is so low.
I thought it was more.
I thought it was so all too. Of them.
I had like some difficulty because some of them were like, oh, like they stopped for the evening and he didn't like explicitly fall asleep, but some of those I counted and some I didn't. But basically it's like half. It's like half.
Damn.
It's so many. And most of the ones where he didn't were at the beginning.
Amazing.
Oh, what a stupid book. I love it so much.
Great.
All right.
Let's end this podcast.
Yeah. Also, this episode comes out in November, not on November 11th. In November, we're going to be reading Piranesi by Susanna Clark for the Midlight Book Club, which I'm pretty excited about. So hopefully by the time you hear this, I'll have started that book at least. I've heard it's really good, but I have literally no idea what it's about.
Me neither.
There's a guy dancing with a pipe on the front.
Yeah,
that's
like
all I know.
Skater-y.
Yeah.
This outro is a mess. If you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing us on Spotify or your podcatcher of choice, and be sure to come back for our upcoming special episodes before we dive into our next novel. You can talk to us and find fun-related content on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com, and on YouTube. Nailed it.
And Aragon at the end of the book, really encapsulating how it feels to be an adult. He prayed for someone to lift him out of the nightmare, but there was no one to guide him.
Oh.
Damn. I need an adult.
I need an adult to your adult.
Yeah. I need a more adult, and I'm 30.